Hi, I'm Ethan Green from NoSleeplessNights.com, and in this video I'm going to unbox and test out the QuietOn earbuds. Now, as I see it, these are essentially very fancy high-tech earplugs. They have active noise cancellation. You can't play music through them, but what you can hopefully do is block out more noise, such as snoring, than you would do with traditional earplugs. Since they cost just under $200 though, they're going to have to really impress me to make me think that they're better than the standard foam earplugs that I've been using for many years and that are cheap and effective. In a moment, I'm going to unbox them and then I'll test them out and use them for a few nights to see how effective and how comfortable they are. If you're not interested in watching the whole unboxing, please skip ahead a few minutes, and I'll also put timestamps in the description below. So with that said, let's head over to the table and check them out. Okay, before I actually open the box, I'd just like to say that I think first impressions do count sometimes, and so far so good. I like the way that it looks, and it looks like it'd be something that would make a nice gift. But yeah, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, so let's take a look. Okay, inside here, your partner in a noisy world. Let's hope so. Here we have a case, and what else have we got in here? Some what looks like different sized tips. Got small and large, presumably the medium are already placed on the actual earbuds then. And here we have a charging cable, which is a USB to micro USB. It's extremely short, but I hope that's not going to be a problem. There's no power adapter supplied, so you need to provide that yourself, but it's not an issue to find USB sockets in most people's houses, I don't think. Here we have a user guide, which looks like it's in English, and it looks like down there we've got some other languages as well, which is useful for some people. So I'm not going to go through the entire user guide because I've been told that it's a little bit boring when I've done it before, but I know some people appreciate being able to see the instructions, so I'm just going to scan through quickly so people can pause if they don't have the instructions or they lose them. There you go, and the other side is mostly warnings, I think. So if you do lose your instructions, there you go, you can pause the video. Now let's have a look at the actual earbuds themselves. This case is quite heavy actually, quite surprising. Oh, and on the back we have the charging port as well. I believe that you don't actually charge up the earbuds, you charge the case that they sit inside. So the device itself, let's have a look inside. Here you can see the two bits there that go from the charging port into the actual earbuds. We've got a sticker here which you need to remove. Mode button. I believe that it has a hearing and a silent mode, so you can have it with the noise cancellation or without if you'd rather be able to hear what's going on around you. So here, let's have a look at the tips. And here you can see that they're quite squidgy. I believe it's memory foam, and I like that. Hopefully it's going to be able to make a nice fit in your ear, because ultimately the active noise cancellation is not going to be that much use if they don't really fit nicely inside your ear. So really, I think there's not much more for me to do in the actual unboxing. I think the main bit that's going to be interesting is charging them up, which I believe takes about an hour, and then putting them in my ears and testing them out and seeing how well they block out different sounds in my bedroom. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and then I shall be back in the bedroom to tell you about them. Okay, so I've now had a chance to play around with the QuietOn and test them out in the bedroom a little bit, and I've got to say there's good news and there's some bad news, at least as far as my first impressions go. The good news is that they definitely work, and I think the fact that they have that button that allows you to change between hearing mode and silent mode means that you can actually find out whether the technology does something or whether it's just merely having something inside your ears like earplugs that's preventing noise. Because when you do press the button, which I have to say is a little bit fiddly, finding it and then pressing it, you can, like automatically, I had it on hearing mode and that's gone into silent mode, you can hear there's a real difference in the noise cancelling, so that's a good thing. And I've got to say, it does block out some of the ambient noise. This is actually a really good place to test noise reduction, because I live in a building on the 20th floor with an enormous amount of air conditioning units, which I don't know how many of them are on at the moment, but I always say the sound of my neighbourhood is an air conditioning unit, because there's just so many of them and I can hear it even with the windows closed as they are now. So when I have these on the hearing mode, on silent mode rather, it definitely cuts out some of that drone, which is great, because that's the noise that really annoys me in the nighttime. And I also tested it with my own air conditioning unit on in the bedroom, and it cuts out some of that noise as well, but not all of it. So as far as the actual technology is concerned, and the fact that you might be wondering whether they work or not, they do work. Now for the bad news. So first of all, as you can see, I'm lying on my side, and even though the actual tip is memory foam, there's still, see if I can get it out. There we go. There's still this part of it here, which is solid plastic, and you can feel it on your ear, even on your side. So I think if you're a side sleeper, I'm going to have slight concerns about how comfortable they are to wear, but that's something I'm going to find out over the next week when I continually use them. So that's one thing to note. But yeah, lying on your back, it's not an issue at all. However, the main issue that I've found so far, at least in my initial couple of hours of testing, is that they're no better than my foam earplugs, and that's a real disappointment, I have to say. One caveat is that I have discovered already that the fit that you have with them makes a massive difference. I've tried with the small tips and the large tips, and they definitely don't really work at all. So that automatically makes me think that the fit is important, the fact that one set of tips makes a big difference. And also the way that you have them angled in your ear, you need to twist them backwards to get the fit right. And I've found that in some positions, they really don't do much at all. And then all of a sudden, playing around with it, oh, okay, that's the position, and you realize that they're actually doing something. And pressing the button is something that I wouldn't recommend doing too much, because you end up kind of pushing this plastic thing into your ear, which isn't the most comfortable. So yeah, those are my first thoughts. Now I'm going to try it out for the rest of the week and try and sleep with them and see what that's like, and use them around the house as well, and try them with some different noises, and then I'll get back to you. So I've now spent a few more days using the QuietOn, and I have to say I think my first impressions were largely accurate. However, I do think it's worth discussing their usefulness during the day and the night time separately. For the night, for me, I just can't get past the fact that my foam earplugs did a better job. You know, with their noise reduction rating of 33 decibels, they just blocked out more noise than the QuietOn. However, I know that some people find foam earplugs uncomfortable because they expand in your ears and put too much pressure on your ears, and I found the QuietOn were actually better than wax and silicone earplugs. So I can imagine that for some people the QuietOn might be more suitable, but just not for me. For me personally though, perhaps the best use of the QuietOn was during the daytime, which surprised me. I like the fact that they feel comfortable and you can easily switch between the hearing and silent mode without having to take them out and try and put them back in again, which can be tricky with warm foam earplugs. And actually I found that the noise cancellation was just on par with my Bose Quiet Comfort 20i, which, you know, although they can play music as well, have been some of my favourites when it comes to noise cancellation. So the fact that they matched them impressed me. Another point in their favour is that they only take an hour to charge and they'll last for a good 20 hours. And I also like the fact that they're pretty quiet. You don't really hear much of the white noise sound that you sometimes do with noise cancelling headphones. The fact remains though that the QuietOn are expensive, which might be fine if money's no object and they fix a particular problem you have with noise. However, if you're on a budget, I don't think I could recommend saving up for them unless you really don't want to use normal earplugs or headphones or earbuds or whatever it might be, and you really like the idea of being able to switch the silent mode, hearing mode, and change between them very easily without needing to take them out. So there you go. I hope that you found this review useful. If you did and you're interested in buying them, please use the link in the description below, and please also subscribe to my YouTube channel to keep in touch with me and see future reviews. Thanks again. This is Ethan from No Sleepless Nights.